Hello and welcome to the Parenting Truth and Dare podcast. I'm your host Ritika Subhash, and I welcome you with all my love to this lovely podcast called the Parenting Truth and Dare podcast, where we unpack a lot of different aspects of conscious parenting, of how we can navigate the challenges of parenting in this 21st century. And I bring to you many, many different professionals from across different strata of work in the sector of education, in the sector of parenting, in the sector of child psychology, lots of different areas that are relevant to us as parents. Okay, so without much ado, today I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Ragu Pandey. He joins us from iMature. So I'll give you a brief introduction about Ragu and then we'll get started. So Ragu holds a BE degree in computer science and he's pursued his master's in computer science at the University of Massachusetts. And he is also the founder of two startups, and one of which we are going to talk a lot about, which is iMature.in. So he's also the author of Become an iMature Student, where he talks about digital citizenship and internet maturity, DCIM. Okay, so that's what we are going to talk a lot about, and how is it relevant to us parents, and how it is important for us to understand this for our children, right? So DCIM is essentially has been a program that has been incorporated in various curricula in schools and colleges. And those programs are now training hundreds of students, as Ragu shares with us, in helping children become 21st century learners. Right. Also, Ragu is very passionate about bringing the spirit of innovation into organizations, and innovation is something that we are all looking forward to. We want our children to really be thought leaders and take up a lot of different challenges that we are not even aware will come in the next 4 to 5 years. So I think all of this sits really, really closely with what we are trying to do in the Parenting Truth and Dare podcast and in the Parenting Inner Circle group. So I give you a warm welcome, Ragu. Thank you for joining us, and share a few thoughts before we get started with the questions. So anything you want to share with us?
First of all, thanks a lot, Ritika ji, for calling me on your podcast. And I'm so happy to know that this focused effort around 21st century parenting is happening. And because of my profession, I see so many parents who feel helpless around this topic of digital parenting and 21st century parenting. And I believe the reason is that when we were kids, our parents had much more influence on us. So maybe it was a 70-30, wherein 70% influence from parents and immediate family and 30% from the media and otherwise. Now it has become 10-90. Parents probably have a very small influence, and the big chunk comes from the social media and so many other places. So they do feel helpless, and there is a need for guiding them, mentoring them, hand-holding them. So amazing initiative, more power to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I think why it becomes even more relevant is we connect with parents across different demographics. So we have some parents who are really aware about the impact of technology and social media access at a young age, but there are some who are actually absolutely unaware, and they're thinking that this is so harmless. Let me get my child into it. Many parents are actually signing up their children on Facebook and other platforms by lying about their age and all of that, because they don't understand what it really means in the longer run. So I think that's a good segue into my first question, which is, can you talk a little bit about some of the online risks? And when you talk about DCIM, maybe let's start with DCIM as to how do you explain that, and how is it relevant to us?
Yeah, so let me first give a very quick intro to what DCIM is, and then I'll take that very important question of yours, parents becoming over enthusiastic about their children's online presence. DCIM, as you just introduced, is digital citizenship and internet maturity. It is a set of skills, a comprehensive set of skills required for anyone to make the best use of internet in education and career, and also stay safe from all the threats and risks of internet. So threats could be external threats, and risks could be internal risks, our own behavior causing problems in our life. So when you combine all these skills relevant to deal with opportunities and threats of internet, we come up with this subject called digital citizenship and internet maturity. It has already become a regular subject in developed countries. What we are trying to do with iMature here in India is to, make that happen in Indian education system. So that's about DCIM, and I will, as the discussion progresses, will get into the details of what those skills are. Uh, Coming back to that question with which you started, yes, we are seeing there are so many digitally literate, rather internet savvy parents who are very, very enthusiastic about uh, kind of gifting a digital life to their child when the child grows up, and it would be such a nice moment for them that, wow, I have an Instagram already. I have an Instagram account with so many followers. Thank you, mom. Thank you, dad. But out of this enthusiasm, probably either they're overlooking or they're completely clueless about lots of serious threats which you are also gifting to your child right from that day when he or she is on Instagram and trying to make her own way through the social network. uh, Today I say the risks of technological threats, or those things, are very, very controlled, very, very manageable. We have good antiviruses. All these platforms have technical securities built in, but the human safety aspect has become much more complicated. So your son or daughter, that first day on Instagram, when she's going there, how do you ensure that some stranger is not trying to brainwash her or trying to groom her? And these are so many things around cyber safety which revolve only around immature social networking.
Hmm.
If the parents understand what immature behavior on a social network like Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp can do to a child, they would never even dream of doing this to their children.
So very interesting point. So two things that I took from there. If you notice, very subconsciously, you kept on repeating her. So you had this thing where, you're talking about females or girls, and I'm not surprised because, of course, you can talk about the research and the study around it. But from how we see children around us, obviously, girls are much more impacted by what they see on social media, the comparisons, the never being able to match up to the filtered reality or filtered virtual reality. So that is definitely an important thing. But why don't you talk about if there is some research around this boy and girl kind of gender specific issues, and also tell me what are these things that if parents knew, they will never they'll be super careful about their children being on social media. So what are some of those key 2 3 things that we should be aware of?
Sure. So, as you rightly pointed out, the threats are more serious for girls because they are naturally the targets of any kind of sexual abuse or grooming. And also, these are external threats, but internal risks wherein girls very quickly fall into the insecure zone of trying to match up with a made up body type or a skin type or a fashionista type. They get into that insecure zone much faster than boys, although I do not have a ready to quote paper or research. But UNICEF, way back in 2016, had published a very detailed report in India titled Child Online Protection in India. So one good thing about this is an India specific research and India's Indian report.
Oh,
uh,
great.
they
Nice.
Yes, and I will also share the report with you so that your audience can get benefited. Uh, in that report, they have detailed about how grooming works, apart from various other things, how financial frauds are also being through children. That's also happening. But what is more serious is how grooming works. So
Can
uh,
you explain what grooming
this
is for the benefit of our
exactly.
listeners? Hmm.
Definitely. So, although we know what grooming is in a different context, make yourself presentable. That's grooming. But in context of online safety, grooming is trying to slowly, brainwash a child and convincing him or her to do what the criminal wants them to do. And it starts with a very casual friendship online. Obviously, the profiles are fake. If you want to groom a boy, you would create a fake profile of a cute looking girl, and vice versa. And then This is a very organized effort by these cyber criminals because they want they want children to get into so many things. They want children to get into pornography trade or drug abuse or becoming intermediaries for any other criminal activity. So there are so many reasons why the groomers want to groom these children, and they know that they cannot just go right away and try to convince a child to do something wrong. So they win their trust. Winning the trust is the process of grooming,
Got
and
it.
it can take few months to even year, and they stick along that time, and they know they are probably masters of psychology in that sense, that they
Mm.
stick around, make sure if you target 100 children with your grooming attack, then I'm sure, or they are sure, that out of those 100 they get a couple, 20, 10, or uh, brainwashed children, and then
Yeah.
they get into the things they want.
So it is
So this
almost like
is
what used to happen in real life, let's say in a
Mhm.
playground, where if the parent is
Mhm.
not around, a criminal would try to approach a child. And, it's just that here, because it's online, they're giving it much more time. They're taking their time to build trust. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, and parents will never get to see who is approaching that child, because children try to hide their online relationships from parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why.
So, okay, now let's say something like this has happened. What can a parent do, one, to prevent this? I know I'm jumping a few steps ahead, but
Mhm.
I want our listeners to get as much value as quickly as they can, because towards the end, we'll also give them resources and your connection so that they can reach out to you if needed. But first, what can parents do to prevent this? What can parents do once this happens? Or, how do you suggest that?
Number one thing is being aware about all the threats and risks of internet, and also ensuring that the children are aware about those.
So tell me top three
That's
risks. Let's talk about top three risks.
Okay, so we have a full spectrum of 8 risks and threats. I will quickly take you through the most important ones. Number one is physical threats due to online mistakes of children. So if a boy or a girl says that I'm going to that party in my best friend's birthday, so the person who wants to physically harm the child knows the whereabouts,
Right.
or and it is happening left and right. So that's number one. Number two is which I call the underworld of internet, completely hidden from parents' view, is cyberbullying. It's
Hmm.
happening a lot on the internet, and children are making groups. They are part of so many groups, even confession pages. I don't know how many parents here know about those. And there, a child can become a victim of another group of children trying to make fun or trying to intimidate or threaten another child. So the victim child takes a lot of emotional damage, and then also tries to hide it from their parents, because otherwise they are afraid that my digital privileges will be snatched away. Cyberbullying is something very, very invisible to parents, and it can be devastating for a child. So parents should be aware about that cyberbullying is happening. Then they should have that communication built with the child, that this is what you can come and discuss with us. Have trust that we are not going to snatch your privileges. We are here for your good. It's a long process. There is no shortcut. Whatever I'm telling, there is no shortcut to it. uh, if a child is taking 18 years to mature in the physical life, you have to give at least few years to get matured in the digital life also, right?
Absolutely.
uh, so number three threat is, which is much more well known, is cybercrime attacks, financial frauds, hacking, all those things. We are more aware about those. uh, Number four is being brainwashed, as I was saying, the threat of grooming.
Mhm.
So these are the external threats. Attackers are somewhere out, and your
And you
child
also
is being attacked.
mentioned confession page. If you can quickly cover what is that?
Yes, yes. So confession pages are those groups which can be made anywhere: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, anywhere where people can come together and form a group to do some discussion. That can convert into a confession group or a confession page. There, most places the students join with, anonymously they join or use wrong, false names, false identities, and they discuss these stories, whether they are real stories or made up stories of their teachers, of other students, their peers. and things can get nasty very quickly there.
Okay.
We have heard about boys' locker room and things like that happening in Delhi and so many other places. Uh, that is where in confession pages, sometimes stories around the child can be discussed, cyberbullying can be initiated. Again, a place where any child can feel devastated if the privacy is being compromised, or identity is being compromised. So that's a confession page, and you just have to do a simple Google, write the name of the school of your child and confession page or confession group. There is a
Wow.
great chance that you will find it.
Wow, wow. So, yeah, this is important for listeners because, again, the nuances many parents will not know. Like it's cyberbullying, for example, or bullying is getting some limelight these days. But things that you said in terms of physical harm that is possible, we are in this habit of checking in wherever we are going, right? Facebook check in,
Exactly.
we've landed here, we are eating here. But
Yes.
anyone, whoever wants, can connect the entire dots and really even map out our full day schedule and then use that against
Absolutely.
us. So I think these are some really, really
Absolutely.
important things. And we have to, as parents and as adults, we have to understand that this is giving us very, very short frame of instant gratification. And after that gratification of posting, we are only exposing ourselves to more and more threat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're so right on that.
Yeah. So great.
So,
You mentioned some top three, four issues. Now let's say, how can we prevent this, or how can, once it's happened, what are the next steps?
right. So, as I said, although there are no shortcuts that exist, but we have nevertheless developed a mantra which helps you remember all the strategies that should always be followed to stay as safe as possible on internet. And that mantra, what we call the I mature mantra, is fast, car, and secret location. So FAST, fast,
Mhm. Mhm.
CAR, car, and secret location. So if a child or even the parent, we say the entire, all the family members should remember this and implement this. FAST stands for firewall, antivirus, strong password, trust with caution. So I'll go slowly.
Yeah.
Fast,
Yeah.
FAST, firewall, antivirus, strong passwords, trust with caution. So if you are following this, you will be very safe from the technological attacks, the cyber criminals.
Hmm.
Okay. The
So,
next word
okay,
is
let's start. Let's stick with this for a bit. You said firewalls. Now, usually, when let's say a parent buys a laptop for the child, typically nobody really understands. Okay, firewall setting be karna hai. So, what needs to be done from the firewall perspective?
fortunately the operating systems of today have this by default built in into the
Right.
laptop. If you're using a Windows laptop, you will have Windows Defender or some other antivirus already installed, and the operating system will warn you repeatedly that your antivirus is outdated, you need to update it. So that's what I said, that the technical security features have evolved to a satisfactory level, but
Mhm.
still you should be aware that this is existing to keep us safe, and we should never
Ignore
you
it.
know, ignore these things, let them go out of our sight. uh, so firewall and antivirus are kind of taken care by the operating system, or whether it is the phone or even the laptop. But strong passwords and trust with caution is a behavior thing.
Hmm.
So you have to, I need not go into details of strong password. You have heard it thousands of
Yeah.
times. But trust with caution is something which we fall for so many times.
Hmm.
And this is where social engineering attacks happen.
Hmm.
The attacker tries to take advantage of some thought or desire or vulnerability of yours. If you have repeatedly posted that yearning for a vacation in Goa,
Hmm.
so I can craft any plan that never before seen rates for Goa and just book that for 5,000 rupees. So
Hmm.
whatever the crafted message is, and it is happening in a very organized fashion, social engineering. Whether it is a grandparent or a teenager or a working woman or man, they have got their thoughts, desires, vulnerabilities, anything around that. Social engineering attacks are done. That is where you have to trust with caution, with lot of caution, before
You
you
have to
trust
use
any
your common
email.
sense, right? You have to something. I think here is the mantra that I use, which is if it looks too good to be true, it probably is.
It is
Right. And
actually.
so one thing, this is my mantra. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And the
That's
second is there are
absolutely right.
no free lunches in this world. So if somebody is promising
Absolutely.
you something for absolutely free and you get this, please understand, like on the internet, I think it's a very common adage nowadays that on the internet,
Mhm.
if something is for free, then you are the product, right? You are essentially what they are wanting in terms of your attention, your time. All those ads will start showing to you multiple times if you search something. So be very cautious of the fact that these platforms, maybe when they started 10-15 years ago, their purpose was networking and to help people, rebuild communities. But nowadays it has evolved. It's that, plus it is an advertising space. It's basically a marketplace. Whether
Absolutely,
you call it
marketplace.
or
Yeah.
not, it's a marketplace, and you are constantly being bombarded with advertisements and things like that. So this FAST acronym, which is firewall, antivirus, and what was
Wrong
the
password.
strong password, of course, strong password, and then keeping those passwords safely somewhere in a place that you can trust. And then, T is trust with.
Trust with caution. Yeah. Yeah.
What about car?
So before I go to car, I want to just add to the problem with trust with caution is that nowadays, with the help of AI also, it is
Mm.
very easy to engineer an attack on person to take the advantage of fear or sense of emergency. So, and I can go into a lot of detail, but that's not in interest of time. So we can only, conclude that AI is going to complicate this thing. That is why you have to raise the bar of caution for trusting anything. Even if you're seeing your relatives, your mother, your father, your child talking to you online and asking for something,
Mm.
please trust with caution.
Wow.
So reality is
It
not
is
going to
it
be
is
really
quite
the
hard,
same.
right? And we are just at the very nascent stages of
Yes.
dealing with AI, so we don't really know. But we've already seen, right, that the deep fake photos and the
Yes,
videos that are
absolutely.
coming up. We're all
Absolutely.
stunned actually about how things are happening. So this is why these awareness sessions are very important, because we are digital immigrants, right? Our generation are digital immigrants. We have not grown up, or we have not really been born with technology. So we have two things. One is that we have had a carefree childhood, which is to our
Yes.
advantage. And the second is now, because we are adults, we have that maturity that we can critically think that there are some advantages, there are some disadvantages. We have to understand that, educate ourselves, and then guide our children in the right way. So I think this is absolutely, absolutely critical for parents. There's no reason why any parent should not be listening to this right now.
Absolutely. So let me quickly tell you about CAR and also secret location. CAR stands for uh, confidence, avoidance, and reporting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is especially to protect a child from any kind of bullying or online harassment, or being over influenced by by an antisocial element or movement online. So if the child is being cyber bullied, the first emotion that should be built is confidence. You
Mm.
have to tell the child, be confident, don't reply in anger, or don't delete the messages in fear. Keep those messages, reply with confidence, then I'm going to report you to police or the principal or whoever. Stop
Mm.
this bullying. Then avoidance is to avoid all kind of antisocial content that you are seeing online. Not just you and me, but children are also getting affected by extremism online, when they say religious extremism or political extremism, or so many threads of discussion which getting exposed to, which could be scarring for a child's mental health.
Mm.
uh, to avoid those. And finally, reporting is when you properly report the case. If you find something, some obscene content on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, there is a reporting feature. Use it, report it. If it is a cyberbullying attack, report it to parents, show all the messages to parents, to principals. Don't feel scared about those. So confidence, avoidance, reporting, that keeps you safe from bullies or antisocial elements online.
Yeah.
And finally, secret location is very obvious. Don't let your whereabouts be known online. We have already discussed that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's very important in our enthusiasm to share or to maybe get a few likes or to maybe inspire. Sometimes it's about inspiration, right? We want to inspire. We are, and this thing about young children wanting to feel like influencers very, very early in their lives. I think we are all in a very gullible state. The young ones, the older generation are gullible, and that's why many of the crimes that you'll see, the financial frauds that you see, are happening with the older generation because
Yes,
they're
yes,
absolutely struggling with technology, many of them. Right. So,
absolutely.
okay, we've understood some part of it, but maybe as far as I see it, it's only the tip of the iceberg that
It
we are
is.
covering
It
right
is.
now. We've covered the
It
FAST
is.
methodology, which is FAST is largely for prevention. Then
Yeah.
CAR that you mentioned is largely as a after fact, like if something has happened after the fact, what to do. And then you mentioned about the secret location in terms of keep some things private, like keep secrecy. And I think
Exactly.
in today's day and age, um, you know. Uh, secrecy or protecting your own private life or privacy is actually a privilege. So if you're able to do that and if you're able to enjoy that privacy, I think nothing like it. So that's a wonderful thought to think about. Now some other things I wanted to discuss is some of the questions that I'm getting from my community members are actually about my child is now really addicted to technology, right? And they want to be on this all the time, not just social media but just technology in general. When they come from school, they are on it. When they are eating their food, they're on it. When it has happened, now let's not discuss how it happened. Of course, we as parents only are the ones who are giving the devices, and we were the first people to give it. That's why the child got it. But now, if we are feeling that the child is somewhere in that zone of being addicted to it, what
Hmm.
are some of the key ways in which we can resolve this issue?
First of all, parents have to understand that they are fighting with probably the biggest effort made to make children addict of something.
Yeah.
Every feature that you see on Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp has been designed for just one thing, that is called engagement.
Yeah.
So world's best psychologists have been paid world's best salaries in these companies to ensure that every feature releases that dopamine and whatever neurochemicals that ensure that the children are hooked onto it, whether it is gaming or social networking or scrolling videos infinitely.
Yeah.
They are designed to hook the children up. So it is not just a coincidence or a fault on the child's side that why are you spending so much of time, or even on our side when we are doom scrolling.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that you are fighting something which has been designed to make people addict.
Hmm.
After that acceptance, you have to understand that if a child or anyone is addicted to one kind of behavior, uh, you can only replace the behavior with another behavior. You cannot keep that slot empty. So,
Okay.
although I myself am not a psychologist, but in my network, there are some very good psychologists who understand the phenomenon of digital addiction in detail,
Hmm.
and we discuss among ourselves that why haven't the digital de-addiction strategies not been successful till date? Because people try shortcut methods,
Yeah.
that if you spend too long on this, I'll take your phone away, or some shortcut methods. However, they should focus on behavior replacement.
Okay.
What does that mean? The device that you have in your hand, your mobile phone or a laptop or whatever, that device can also be a boon for your career, self learning, building up your self worth, and so many positive things.
Hmm.
If the device is connected to a purpose, a healthy goal, a healthy habit,
Hmm.
then only the negative behavior will get replaced. Stopping the negative behavior is not the solution of getting out of it. Only the negative behavior can be replaced by a positive behavior. That is where internet maturity comes into picture. That if a child knows what is the purpose of being on Instagram, what is the purpose of being on LinkedIn, why are forums here, what do I do with blogs, what is the right way of searching on Google, what do I do with edX and Coursera and so many online courses,
Hmm.
what do I do with the entire internet for my life? When those thoughts are clear, when the plans are clear, then automatically the human brain will, offset a little bit of the behavior for positive things, and that is where hope begins. Otherwise, you just cannot think of removing the device from child's life. or
Yeah.
maybe an app. Just deleting Instagram from your phone, child's phone, will not make her forget Instagram.
Yeah. Interesting thing that you mentioned, behavior replacement, instead of simply saying that change overnight, and that doesn't happen. We've seen that with addictions of nicotine and things like that. It doesn't happen overnight. So now I think we're coming to the towards the end of our conversation here. I want to cover two important things. One is that why and how should parents or education institutes, how should they come to you, or why should they come to you? What is the what should they be facing so that they feel, okay, I need my child to know about DCIM and things like that? So that is my first question. And the second is, we are the Parenting Truth and Dare podcast, so we unpack this truth today about DCIM, the digital citizenship and internet maturity. What is the one dare that you want to give the listeners? I wanted this podcast was designed to be an action oriented podcast, so not just listen and consume information passively, but take something and implement it today so that you see some changes, some improvement gradually.
Okay. Okay. So, should I give a dare first to the parents?
Absolutely, go for it, go for it.
Okay. Uh, I it's a like a challenge that I
A
want to give
challenge,
them.
something that they
Yeah.
can do today, because every one of us is facing, right? We are all doom scrolling. We are all in this thing where our
Right.
child wants to eat with the device or whatever. Like some of the situation that's going on. What can we do as parents today that will help us see some change? Is it a conversation that we need to have with the kids? Is it a video that we need to show them? Whatever. What is it that we can do?
It will be a longer one because I do not deal with tips and tricks and
Yeah,
short
good,
form counseling.
good.
That's why. So the longer thing is, I dare or I challenge them to create a inspiring online reputation for their child, their own online reputation, which will include LinkedIn or other platforms where they are posting content,
Mm-hmm.
and their children should get inspired by the parents' online reputation.
Right.
That's the challenge that I want to give them. It
Mhm.
might take a month, but it's worth it. uh,
So I
yeah.
think underlying theme of what you're saying is be careful about what you're posting, because what goes on the internet stays, and it is going to, build the narrative around who you are. And, so basically start building up a good image, a positive image, a useful image online so that children can be inspired.
Indeed, I want to add to this that uh, the thought should be about what impressive and awesome content I can put online about myself without faking anything, and not worry about not posting something harmful, because that way we tend to not post things. We want them to post things, maybe more than what they are posting today, but that should be inspiring. That should be giving the right kind of sanskars to their children by looking at my father's online profile. I am getting inspired. That's how I
Absolutely.
want
I
to
think
become.
it's a very important thing. Yeah. What is the legacy we are leaving our children? We have to think about it. We have to be mindful. Absolutely. And how can people reach you? Why should people reach you? When should they reach you? All of that.
Right. So the number one thing they can do is go to imature.in, imature.in, and see what digital citizenship and internet maturity is all about.
Mhm.
And we are very, very approachable. In fact, one of our teammates is focusing on digital parenting program only, Dr. Geetanjali Jha. She is on the last leg of completing her book. Otherwise she would have been a part of this podcast more than me.
Oh, we'll be
uh,
happy to invite her as a.
Definitely, definitely.
Absolutely.
Uh, so we are very approachable. My email ID I can share. It's ragu@imature.in. We can start a conversation from there. We can take into WhatsApp from there if you want. But number one thing, please educate yourself what digital citizenship and internet maturity is. There is a decent amount of content available on our website. Please make yourself familiar. And beyond that, if you can help us with the mission of every child internet mature, we want as many parents to join hands with us.
Absolutely. So I think parents, if you are facing any issue with anything that you're noticing in terms of behavior change that may be linked to your child's internet usage, I think that might be a good starting point of conversation.
Absolutely.
Either me or Raghu, or we'll leave the resources and we'll leave their contact details. or you can also come to us with whatever. If you have any queries about how your behavior online should be or what impact it might have, I think those are some good conversations to have with Raghu and his team. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you gave us. And I think this is a very, very pertinent topic. And this is not the first, this is just the first time we are coming and opening this conversation. This is not the last time. We will talk a lot about it with you, with your team going forward. And now that AI is taking a whole new dimension and a whole new proportion, I think the next time we talk, we'll talk about the impact of AI on our children's
Absolutely.
educational journey. How can we use AI or coach our children to use AI to leverage and really take a huge, leap in their life rather than simply relying on it for basic information. So all of those things, and I am glad that we opened up this channel today with you. It was an absolute pleasure. Any last parting thoughts? We have a minute or two left, so anything that you want to share, I'll be happy to capture that as well.
Uh, Nothing as such. I just want to request the parents to, think about the internet maturity of your child rather than thinking about today's behavior or tomorrow's behavior on internet. Think of it as a, good set of skills that you want to install in them before they become independent. So prepare for a long term leadership role in digital parenting, not just a warden's role in digital parenting.
Absolutely. So this is no short-term, approach. In fact, people who come to the parenting inner circle, I tell them, if you have joined us as a conscious parent and on this journey, give yourself a minimum 4 to 5 years time for to see any
Absolutely.
long-lasting behavior change. I'm not going to give you
Absolutely.
any magic pill that'll change everything. So it's a journey, and thank you for being on this journey with us. We really appreciate it, and we wish you all the best and more power to your mission.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity of talking about internet maturity and spreading the word across. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. See you around.